Hey everyone, and welcome back to the Firefighters Podcast, where we seek to develop, inspire, and motivate the world of the emergency services operator through a series of wide-ranging conversations. Now, before we go any further, just hit that rate, follow, or subscribe button on whatever platform you're listening to. It's a key performance indicator for us and helps us reach even more people. Now, here's what we've got for you today. So today's episode is a little bit of a different one. We're changing tacts, not forever, just for a bit of an adventure, a little bit of an experiment. So we're doing a lot of stuff at the minute around the podcast, around first responder well-being, and that is a holistic lens that you've got to take with something like that. So it's not just the mental, it's also the physical. And I have found myself that I get a lot of headspace and a lot of physical fulfillment from going and climbing mountains. You've probably heard me speak about this on the podcast before. It's something we do a lot. But today we're going off-piste, if you excuse the pun, and we recorded an episode as we recently did the National Three Peaks with a company called Elite Adventures. Now, I teamed up with some old friends from the SAS Who Dares Win show that I did last year, and we went off and did the National Three Peaks. National Three Peaks Challenge involves climbing the three highest peaks of Scotland, England, and Wales within 24 hours. It's an iconic challenge regarded as one of the UK's toughest mountain events. So over the next hour or so, you will hear us talk about the challenges of each mountain. You'll hear us at different points during the event and then coming over the line. Spoiler alert, we just made it in time, which is going to sound like BS, but listen and see, and you'll find out a little bit more about it. If this kind of episode tickles your pickle, we might do them from time to time. It is not going to be our standard stowage. It's not going to be our run-of-the-mill episodes. We, of course, will be back on regular programming very soon. We've got some incredible guests. We've recorded around 20 or so episodes in the last few weeks, so we have got loads stockpiled, which are coming out very soon. But hopefully you like this one. It was certainly a very enjoyable, emotional, and kind of like surreal thing that I really enjoyed doing. One of my real bucket list things to do in the UK, little mountainous adventures. So hope you enjoy hearing about it, and I'll see you on the other side. This episode of the podcast is brought to you by Gore-Tex Professional Fabrics. Now, we all know the working environment of a firefighter is filled with challenges. We face serious risks on the job, such as heat exhaustion, burns, physical and mental stress, and we frequently come into contact with high levels of toxic chemicals. Now, I have been wearing Gore-Tex for nearly 2 decades on the front line, working in hostile environments, tackling challenging incidents from firefighting to water incidents and in urban search and rescue environments. Gore-Tex have a well-earned reputation for protecting professionals in the fire and emergency services through their family of highly innovative, waterproof, breathable moisture barriers that exceeds global performance standards and are trusted worldwide. Gore-Tex, going further together. Hey folks, before we get into today's episode, just wanted to introduce you once again to our mobile application, Drillbook. Now, if you listen to the podcast, you're probably the sort of person that likes to develop themselves. Now, Drillbook is built to be the home of training ideas for drill grounds all across the world. It's a library of content built by firefighters for firefighters. It's for training ideas, it's for incident debriefs, radio messages. We've got if code templates in there, knots and lines, quick reference guides, interview questions, answers, and guidance. So go in there, check it out. You want to develop yourself. If you're looking to develop a firefighter on your station, head into the App Store or click the notes in the podcast links below.
No, he's not.
You try and shut him up. Jesus.
Same as usual.
Think of him like one of those lawnmowers. You just pull it and just let it go. And it just follows. Ask him. Look who's talking, Jesus. So where the hell are we, Dan?
So we're in Tarbert in Scotland, obviously Highlands, Scotland.
There's a beautiful lake outside. What's that?
Yeah, Loch Lomond.
So we're the edge of Loch Lomond.
Yeah, pretty much. Got some nice tours over there as well. We ain't gonna have a chance.
Yeah, that's where Nessie
that's
is.
Loch Ness.
Loch Ness.
That's Loch Ness, that one, I'm afraid.
I saw her on the way in. Apparently they've been searching for her for years.
That was on the minibus, and that was one of the girls.
Was that?
And Bristol area.
When's the first time you came here then?
Ooh, Scotland, God. 12 years ago, to be honest. Yeah.
12 years ago.
Yeah.
Why?
Oh, I can't remember now. I think it was with a scout trip we did. Just did a bit of walking around there.
Did you run a scout group? Or?
So, no, I was just part of a scout group.
How old are you?
So it can't be 12 years ago then. I can't
So you were a Boy Scout 12 years ago?
Boy
God, I
Scout.
wish
What's
it
your
was
secret?
12 years ago. Yeah.
You know when you look at the presidential
Just hang around
and stuff like that, the amount of presidents
No, it
and
would've been
people like
longer
that
than
who were once a Cub Scout. Have you ever looked at that? There's a
Yeah,
real
Boy Scouts,
correlation.
yeah,
The Boy Scouts. It is, no, seriously, because it's the values,
yeah.
isn't it?
Responsibility,
Dib, 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 dob, 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 do
discipline,
your
all that.
best.
Trouble is with COVID and that, it kind of knocks 2 years and years off everything, doesn't it? So it would have been a lot longer ago.
Yeah,
now.
trying to connect the dots
I would have been
backwards.
16, so double my life ago. So I'm 34 now, so hell
So
of a
did
lot
you
of
go all the way
time,
with
yes.
Scouts? Because Scouts is the last one, isn't it? I was a Beaver, then a Cub.
So I did Beavers, Cubs,
My
and Scouts,
dad was
but then
a
there
Cub
was one
leader.
past that, wasn't there?
So,
There is one past it.
one past Scouts?
Was
Is it
that for
Rangers?
adult
Is it
Scouts?
Rangers?
No, I think that's more American. I think it's... used to be
Is it? It's a bit
Adventures, I think
sad now.
it's
You should have gone into the
Explorers.
army and
I think
started
it's
doing
Explorers now.
Explorers.
Cadets.
Yeah. Is it? I can't move on with my life and go into the army.
Yeah.
I'm just going to hang on. You become one of them weird older kids then, don't you? Because you're like 19 then, and you're kind of like, you should maybe not be hanging around with the Cubs.
You might lose a few followers from your podcast if you say that.
honest, isn't it?
But there is always, isn't there? There is always like the sort of
Yeah.
adult scouts sort of helping.
Well, a lot of
the
people
scout
tend to
leaders.
transition into a leadership role, then, don't they?
Yeah,
They tend to
absolutely.
start
that's it.
doing it for the next. Because we have it with fire cadets and police cadets. It's like you join the fire service, and then you're like, do you want to go and coach the cadets, kind of thing. But I love that. That's kind of where the origin of it started. So you came up here with them. When did you first start doing the Elite Adventure stuff?
So 2017 started Elite Adventures.
Okay, what is it?
It's a mountaineering company designed to kind of deliver challenges and fitness challenges, but in a more user-friendly way.
Yeah.
So I've worked in freelance for different challenge companies in the past, and it's very robotic. When I first became a mountain leader, it was very much you need to work for someone else, you need to learn the ropes before you can even start off. And I worked for about 2-3 companies, and when you see the way they deliver a trip, you can start to pick out and be like, well, actually, you could do this a lot better. Rather than speaking to people like that, you can be a bit more friendly, you can socialise.
Why were they
with
trying to
them.
be like militaristic? Like, we're taking you on a fucking SAS thing.
Not even that, it was very, I'd say, minimalistic. So they'd have the mountain leaders meet them at the mountain, they wouldn't talk to anyone, they wouldn't be interested, and it was like, don't talk to them. If they're not fast enough, tell them to go down. You know, I was up Ben Nevis a few weeks ago, and there was a mountain leader up there really shouting at people, and you can see why it puts people off. And they were saying, like, you're not going fast enough, you're not doing this, you're not doing that. It's like, from my point of view, everyone's here, everyone's paid, everyone's wanting to have a good time, everyone wants to enjoy it. If you've got one person shouting at you, it puts you off.
Yeah, I think there's loads of different threads to it in this. So for me, there's like a couple of barriers. A, there's the physical barrier. I'm scared, I can't do it. B, there's I really want to do it, but I'm going to get lost. And everyone says that people die on mountains, which they do every year. So it's like, I don't want to do that. So yeah, you're trying to remove the barriers of making it more accessible, but also like taking the big logistical think out of it. Because I know obviously like Dan and Ross do a lot of this sort of stuff, far more so than me. And I've done my ISAR mountain bits and stuff like that, but I'm not great at it. I'll be brutally honest with you, I would get lost, you know, because I'm just 80% confidence, 20% ability sometimes. I'm just like, there's those barriers that you have to try and remove for people. But then when I like layer that on top of the analogy of Everest, some people go, I've paid my money, get me to the top. And you're like, well, actually, maybe like everyone can't do it, which is an aspect to it, I think.
No, it definitely is. It's a huge aspect of it. It's, we do get people that they kind of pay and take on these challenges, and they come in with the mindset of someone else has told me it's easy.
Yeah.
You know, and when someone else...
You don't vet people, or do you? I don't know.
It's kind of... I can look at people on social media or anything like that and have a snoop around, but I can't say to someone, sorry, I don't think you're fit enough to do it, because you don't know what training they're doing, you don't know how up to date their photos are.
But you do the snooping round anyway.
What's that, sorry?
But you do the snooping round anyway.
So we do a bit of snooping around anyway.
Have you never had to say no to someone?
So I've had people... So the way we work is we always over-promise with the guides.
Yeah.
So if on a big event we've got 30 people, technically we can do it on a 1-to-12 ratio for mountain leaders to staff, to participants. But we always put too many mountain leaders on, because if it's something like a Snowdon Sunrise, most people want to get up for the sunrise, which the challenge is, but some people, the challenge is just to get up the mountain. So if we've got extra mountain leaders on, obviously it costs me more money, but it means that we can actually get that person to the top as well. So everyone in our group is having a good time, everyone's achieving their own goals and reaching their own summits on it.
Without everyone missing the sunrise, or someone being left part way down with a bag of sandwiches waiting for the rest of the
Exactly. You know, we see that, unfortunately, often enough, you see people just sat on the side, and it's like they've been left there by the group because they can't keep up.
Yeah.
But it's quite a harsh kind of environment to say, you've got to sit here. So we I try to have too many staff, because then it means that no one's ever left behind, no one's left on their own. It just means that from a safety element, it's huge. But obviously there's a lot of companies out there that do it exactly the same way I do it.
Yeah, because you send a lot of prep and stuff like that in the emails and all that sort of jazz. Because I remember the last time I did Ben Nevis a couple of months ago, there was some woman and she brought like a couple of bottles of champagne and some glasses with her, and that's like it. You know what I mean? And we ended up having to turn her around.
She was hydrated just the wrong way.
It took us another 3 hours because we had to take her back down. We were just going to leave her on the side and then go all the way to the top. Mountain leaders, that is actually like a thing. Because I know a couple of our Scottish lads from the Scottish Farm Racing. I mean, have you done your mountain leaders now? No. So you're in the process because you're going down to the military
and then
aspect.
I've discovered all the fuss that goes into guiding people. And I think, hell no.
Yeah, and that's the thing, isn't it? Because you can be in love with the mountains.
Doing it for myself,
Yeah, and that's the thing. It's knowing what do you want to do with it. Because you can be in love with going up the mountains and in the outdoors, but having to guide other people. Like I did coaching and PTing for 15 years or something, and I was like, these people are ruining the experience for me. I know I just want so I just had my own gym and locked all the doors and just did it myself. Because you have to want to do it with people.
But you say you're kind of doing it a bit different, aren't you? It's not one size fits all. So you're not using like a blueprint for all your plans.
No.
Because you do see a lot of guys who just do the most basic to sign off the contract. And they don't care about your experience. They just get you up and down because that's what you paid to do, and that's it.
I think that's the hardest part because when we do big trips, we need lots of staff. So trying to find staff, but I think that's the same for any industry. Trying to find staff that are kind of committed and have the same morals and they want to deliver the same trip you want.
A lot of rubbish people out there.
Their
life is in tatters. Their personal standards are terrible. Their interpretation of looking after people and what's good. And I have it with instructors and stuff like that on courses. And you're just like, did you seriously do the same instructor course as me? Because this is dross. Do you know what I mean? The way that they treat people or their interpretation. People think of it as instructing rather than teaching. You know, they're just, I'm going to talk at you. And similar with stuff like this, it's like, I'm going to go and you're either going to follow me or you're not. And that's kind of your problem. I know the way up and I know the way down. So we're doing the National Three Peaks. Is this the most preferred, is this the most popular thing that you do? And for people that are unfamiliar, what is the National Three Peaks?
So National Three Peaks is the highest mountain in each country. So the highest one, obviously, Scotland, Ben Nevis. We've got Scafell Pike in England, and then Snowdon in
And what's the order of them for people that don't know?
So we do
how
that
do you
order.
do them and why big are they?
So we always go, you can do them in the reverse order. So you start at Snowdon, do Scafell, then Ben Nevis. Difficulty that is because Ben Nevis is the longest mountain, it's the one that's going to take you the most time. So if you hit that when you're the most fatigued, it's going to be
the cognitive push for that.
So we always, logistically as well,
eat the frog.
coming up to Scotland first. Most people live, down south or in England or in Wales, that sort of stuff. So then you're working your way back towards home. So it makes the drive home a little bit easier.
Logistically,
Ben Nevis is a long. What's the average time for Ben Nevis? How high is it?
So it's 1,345 metres off the top of my head.
I thought it was 46, but it's fair enough.
Could be.
I thought you were an expert, but never
Tell you what,
mind.
it's written in the rules. You can check it if you complete it.
Yeah, what's the average time people like to do it in, and what's your goals for it?
For the Three Peaks, we aim no longer than 6 hours. So the vehicle is limited. So technically it takes, by Google Maps, you'll have 5.5 hours drive from Ben Nevis to Scafell Pike.
Okay.
But because the vehicle's limited, obviously we're restricted by traffic, etc. It's more likely 6 hours.
It seemed limited to about 90 on the way here.
Not really. Kilometres.
So in order to achieve that, we're looking for...
So tomorrow we'll pace it at about 4.5 to 5 hours.
How many times have you done it then? Because when you're
The
saying
Three
pacing
Peaks,
it.
do it, 4 or 5 times a year.
Really?
Yeah.
So if I said to you, I want to do it, how fast could you do it?
So...
Because I've seen people run up and down. There is
Just
something
under
called
4 hours.
the Ben Challenge
run it
every year.
They do,
people race it, don't they?
They do races up there all the time,
And some people, it's like an hour and a half.
When
or
you see them
shorter than that. It's
flying,
like an hour.
they look like they're levitating.
Well, me and Ross were literally talking about this as I was walking back. I was like, there's something about the way my brain works. I can't do the cognitive load of running down things because it's mentally taxing. Being petrified about where you're placing your feet.
You're
coming
constantly
down is scary. Yeah, because you're
ground.
constantly scanning. There's loads of mental dynamics that are going on there as to where am I about to go. And you see people run down the things. They look scary. They must stack it. And if you fall on that shit,
trouble is they're wearing trainers without ankle support. One slight miscalculation, you're
They must have thighs and patella tendons of steel.
Must have.
The rest of that descent, they're running down and I know what it's like. Obviously, I've done snow sports on skiing and snowboarding. Obviously, the more you resist the fall line, the more chance of slipping there is. So you just go with it. You got a lot more chance of staying upright.
You're falling.
But nonetheless, if you stack it. I mean, I'd want to be going down there with body armour on, a gum shield, an American football helmet.
Seriously. It's going to be messy.
And something that's not yet been invented for collarbones.
So, sorry, I digress. So we're looking at, you said 5 hours, isn't it? We're going to try and nail 5.
Yeah, we'll go for about 5 hours tomorrow.
Okay.
What do most people, the normal, someone comes and just does Ben Nevis with their partner or their dog or whatever, how long people are taking on that normally?
You'd be looking at about an 8-hour day.
Is that steady day?
So the longest one I've had is 12 hours. That was a long day, and they weren't particularly lady was poorly on the mountain and all that sort of stuff. But
were you trying to achieve the 3 peaks in that one, and then you had to do that? Was just
a straight Ben Nevis day.
Okay.
But
apart
on
from
average,
the
it's around it's around 8 hours.
Okay. So we're going to shoot for 5.
Yep.
4.5.
Go for about 4.5 to 5.
4.5. Okay.
And Scarfell will go for about 3, and then Snowdon that'll leave us 3. Well,
Scarfell's the steepest, right? Scarfell's.
Yeah, Scarfell's horrendous.
Yeah, it's not obviously not the highest, but it's got
it's
the shortest time
one,
in the incline.
And it's the sketchiest at the top in it for like, it's just shale and
in poor weather conditions. It's quite flat. It's quite easy to kind of not get lost, but stray off the path, and then it's a bit of I've been up there a fair few times, and it's been a complete whiteout, and you just hear people in the dark shouting, "Is anyone there? Is anyone there?" And when it's a complete whiteout, you have got some cairns at the top.
Do you just stay quiet then and crack on?
Yeah, just hide.
Yeah.
So
I can't deal with that.
It's all part of the experience.
It's character building. They'll love it.
Shout over, "Are you in my group?"
Because of course that's the one that's done in the dark.
Do you have like a secret word? What's the code word? No, they're not with us. Crack on.
Because my girlfriend's doing the 3 peaks individually. Make the most of them. I was like, great idea. Because obviously, you don't necessarily enjoy the mountain to its fullest when you're trying to do a time, precious challenge. And it was a really hot day, and we went up late on purpose. We went up like 5 p.m. This is about probably a month ago. And as we were coming down, quite close to sort of sunset, obviously that's when everyone's starting to come up.
Yeah.
So see that one is obviously in the dark. So it must be harder to navigate, because I noticed even navigating it in the daytime, because we obviously went up there a little earlier than we were. That you're right, at the top it is less clear.
At the top it is quite difficult, especially when it's complete whiteout, it's pitch black, and when you've got your head torch on and in a whiteout, it kind of just lights up the area, but it just blurs your vision, you can't see.
Yeah, for sure, it doesn't pick out the trail.
No, not at all. But,
so for people that are totally familiar, what's the standard ways that people tend to navigate these things? Because obviously we have a technological revolution from the map and compass days, but some people still like to have that as their go-to and the way markers and all that jazz.
Yeah, so me personally, I prefer map and compass.
Okay.
I just find it, you don't have to worry about your battery going flat or the wet weather affecting it. Your map's waterproof, all that sort of stuff. But a lot of
do you
people,
even need that now, or do you tend to you got your land markings and you
so with these routes, I've been up them so many times. I still take it with me, map and compass, just in case anything happens and we have to kind of come off route and go somewhere else.
Or visibility just disappears completely.
Just for more of a bearing and that sort of stuff. But yeah, most people tend to use GPS or OS Maps. You can get the app. I think it's £25 a year. Something like
the
that.
ordnance surveys, you can download them, can't you?
I have that, but I still use the actual map and do route cards. But obviously, I'm not like you. I'm just a normal human that knows how to do sort of orienteering at like a normal basic level,
So Scarfell Pike's the second.
Yep.
And then we're finishing with...
We finish with Snowdon.
Snowdon.
So with Snowdon, we'll start at Penny Pass and we'll go up the pig track.
Okay.
So depending on how long we've got left, a couple of weeks ago we paced it at 1 hour 32. So we can get up there quite quick. It's a hell of a slog. Your legs are going to be on fire. But to get up there,
in terms of just a march, or it's the incline, or both?
Because it's a steady incline. Then you get to sections where it is steep, but they're nearer to the end. So obviously you burn your legs off. You've done 2 mountains already. You're on that final summit, and you're at 1 hour 32 to get to the top. It is a hell of a run.
When does the clock stop? At the top?
No, the clock stops at the very bottom.
Right.
So, but I know some companies do it differently. They'll have it where they start at the bottom of Ben Nevis and finish at the top of Snowdon.
Okay.
Whereas, we like to do it.
That's half a mountain.
You've got to do it
I think bottom.
So
well said.
We stop it as soon as you pass that gate back into the car park. We count that as being kind of off the mountain.
Okay.
Yeah, good. Yeah, surely. Yeah.
So as soon as we cross the bridge here, or Heart Attack Hill, either way it's a bridge sort of thing, that's when we start the clock and then we'll finish.
I mean, that must be a placebo to say that it stops at the summit of Snowdon. Really say, oh yeah, you made it in 24 hours. Yeah.
Makes it more achievable for people that...
I suppose it's because they see it as 3 peaks, reaching the summit of 3 peaks in 24
I see
hours.
what you're saying.
But we see it as like completing the challenge.
Yeah, climbing a mountain's going up and coming down though, isn't it?
But then by that standard, it wouldn't be from the beginning of Ben Nevis either, would it? It would be from
peak to
the summit.
Okay.
You're really taking some time off then.
But if we can do beginning to
that's what we'll
end,
do. That's what our challenge is, the
then
24 hours.
We clearly smashed it.
The mountain leaders thing.
Yep.
So is that's actually a thing, a recognised course that people have?
Yeah.
Do you have to do it?
So if you want to take
I'm
people
sure
on the
people
mountain,
are just out there winging it. The old social media company. Yeah, I'm a mountain leader.
I'm sure there is.
I've not asked you for a certificate, to be fair, but I'm sure it's out there. I've got a T-shirt printed. That'll do. No, so what is it? How long does it take? Is there lots of people doing one, or?
So there's loads of different loads of different people that provide the mountain leader qualification, or kind of run the course anyway. So you've got to get 20 quality mountain days, and that is basically being in the mountain creating your own routes, going off path, all that sort of stuff, map reading, and you've got to have an element of planning, preparation, and something that like an aim for the day to get your quality mountain day. You log that all online, and then once you've got 20, you can go for your training. So the training, I believe, is 5.
Oh, so this is before you even do a course?
Yeah.
This
So
is by
before you
yourself?
even do it,
Right,
you'll log your 20 mountain days.
Sorry, can I interject? How do they quantify that you've actually done that?
So you log them all online. There's a website called DLog, and you've got to put quite a lot of details in there. So you can upload your map route, you can write where you've gone from and where you've gone to.
You have to prove it though with GPS.
Do you prove you actually walked it?
So
I can't just copy all of yours and change the name on the top.
Well, you can't see mine, sort of thing. So you can't see other
send it
people
to me.
unless you're. Well, effectively, I could. But then when you come to assessment,
It'd be obvious you've not done
they
it.
can say, well, how can you not night nav? So part of your mountain leader is night nav, and that's quite a big element of it. Wild camping's on there as well.
Okay.
And if you get to the stage, like we had one lad on my course who had got 300 and something quality mountain days, but he failed his course. So how quality are they? Now, for me, I didn't have anywhere near 300. Mine was something like 50
So 300
mountain days.
sketchy days.
Yeah, mine was something like 50 days, and for your assessment, the minimum is 40.
Okay.
But I passed, and I had absolutely no dramas on it at all. You go into it really nervous, and I was sharing the room with that lad at 300 odd mountain days.
Yeah.
He told me, I was like, crapping myself, thinking, this guy's going to fly through it. I'm well underprepared.
Did he have a tattoo of Everest on his chest or something?
Pretty much, yeah.
So what's involved in the course when you actually get on it? You do your 20 whatever hours.
So you do your 20 quality mountain days, and then you get onto your training course. And the training course, a lot of people think you've got to kind of be at assessment level, but the whole point of the training course is to train you ready for your assessment.
Okay.
So if you go in with your 20 quality mountain days, they'll train you on your night nav. They'll get you to do little bits just to test where you're at. And then after the course, they're going to give you feedback and say, look, we think this is where you are. Take this amount of time to consolidate your learning. And then obviously get another 20 mountain days, then go for your assessment.
Talk to me about night nav. If you've not actually got any landmarks, obviously you've got your compass and a map, but if you can't landmark anything.
So the way you can use it is as long as you know what your location is, you've obviously got your map, you've got your compass, you can orientate your map, put your compass on it, use it to orientate, and then pick out a land feature.
But you need to have a land feature.
So on your map, you're going to have some form of land feature, whether that be a river, a wall.
Yeah, but if you have an absolute mare, then
So
you've got to walk around and find something to mark off.
So you can find them.
That's what I'm saying.
But on your mountain leader course, most of your navigation is basically by contour lines.
Okay.
So you feel with your feet. So anytime you're walking, if you're looking at your map and you say, right, I'm going to get to this point and I should be going uphill. If you get there and you're still going downhill or you're on a flat section, you know you're not in the right spot.
So you might spend an hour fucking about just to get your bearings
You can
to
do,
start
but
with.
in the UK especially, you are very unlikely to be away from some sort of feature. Okay. It could be a 300-400 metre walk away, but you tend not to pick features that are more than that away because there's always going to be a degree of error.
Okay.
So if you're picking a feature that's a bit further away, for example, you're aiming for this building, but you know there's a river near it.
Yeah.
Me personally would aim off, so I'm going to aim off towards the river rather than try to pick out that tiny little building. I'd aim off towards the river, and then I know I've got to turn left when I get to this river.
Right.
Turn around because when
Is
you
that
take
where
your
you can only
bearing,
miss it one direction, not both?
well, yeah, exactly.
You don't miss it to left or right.
When you
It's like
take
a
your
backstop.
bearing,
Yeah.
when you take your bearing, if you take it on that building, it's completely white out, and you miss it. You've done so. We measure our pacing as well.
Yeah.
We
I was
measure our
about to
distance,
say,
all that sort of stuff.
everyone has their own different step count, don't they? And you should know your own count.
Yeah.
I know they were talking about this with the military lot when I
different
spent time
gradients
with
as
them.
well, isn't it? So up, flat, and down.
You measure it on so many different things. So you've always got kind of a backup of a backup. So you've got your bearing that you've taken anyway. We count the distance that's going to be. We work out how many steps that's going to be, and then we work out what time that's going to take us.
How do you track yours? Because I've spoken to different people. Some say like I have stones in a pocket, or I have things that I click past, and I'm like, because I'd lose count.
So
I
I
go,
have beads.
It was beads and knots years ago, wasn't it?
Little bead, the little ones where you press them and they got a little spring in
like
that comes down.
from the strings on the anorak. You
Yeah.
press
On a hoodie
spring
or
loaded.
something,
You press it. And it's like
So I have 10 of them on there.
Get
to
those on like
represent
paracord.
Each one is 100 metres, and then you just put them up to the top, and that's your kilometre. But it's very rare you
do
use
like
a kilometre.
9, and then when you run out, then that count. The next one's a.
I can do the 1 to 10 thing.
Yeah.
I usually use my fingers, but I'm about there every now and again.
What's your step on a flat then for 100 metres?
63.
63.
So we always count.
Straight there, he had an answer, didn't he?
We always count with one leg. So obviously, I always go by my left leg. So step off with the left leg, and that's where you count it, sort of thing. So it's always 63 steps.
So is that technically whatever 100
So that's 63 steps is 100 metres.
26 steps. Okay, so
obviously everyone's going to be different.
You're a big M61, so you're a big strider. So slightly
but it's also going to depend on obviously what speed you're walking at. If you've got a group with you and you're having to go slower, now 63 might be
throws your count out a little bit.
So that's thigh burning shimmy shuffle.
So that's
a different
why we
number.
keep the legs. It's called legs of the section. That's where you'd keep it short.
Okay.
But if you said it's going to be a kilometre and you've got to times your distance by 10. Whatever, so 63, but I've got a group with me that's not quite moving at that speed.
Yeah.
Then it's going to throw that out. So if you pick a shorter leg, you're only going to be a couple of steps out. Realistically, you're going to see it.
Okay.
If you're ambling like the Walking Dead, still not miles away then.
Yeah.
And do you have different step counts for steep and decline, or do you just kind of average it for flat?
No, so I kind of.
Because I still do averaging it for flat and then kind of just.
So I average it for flat, but within kind of, within
Five,
reason.
yeah.
If you're going uphill, your steps are going to be shorter. If you're going downhill, again, they're going to be shorter. But there is in map reading, there was a thing called Naismith's Law.
Yep.
And that's your
Naismith's
Law. So it's kind of the speed you travel at with the steps you're taking, all that sort of stuff. But it's something that me personally, I don't tend to use it.
You don't? I was wondering about this.
Because Naismith, obviously, my opinion, Naismith, this was years and years ago.
Is this a famous mountaineering person?
So, yeah, this
Or
is
he had
years
three
and years
legs,
ago.
or
And
what?
Naismith, without being horrible, he was a bit of an old man.
Yeah.
So when he's doing his sort of pacing, we know, the sort of navigation we're going to do now, like with this, we're on a path. So there's no need for me to start counting my steps.
Yeah, I know what you're saying. And there'll be mountaineers lead out there who are romantic about that sort of stuff and probably want to.
Yeah,
so he'd obviously say like 3 kilometres is 20 minutes.
Yeah.
Or 4 kilometres.
Okay.
So 4 kilometres is going to take you 20 minutes. But obviously when you're walking, it's going to depend on how fit you are, how...
I was going to say, have you got a natural lean? Because I'm holding a knee surgery, blah, blah, blah. I'll bet I don't walk in a straight line if I were to walk a long distance.
So if it's for night nav, you take your bearing. The way we do that is you set your compass so that the direction of travel arrow is always in front of you. And you've got your bearing, which you've taken from the map. So all you do is hold that out in front of you. And as long as you keep the magnetic north inside the compass housing north, then you're just going to follow that straight line.
Yeah.
So you can stray off. The trouble comes when you come to a feature that, like a massive rock or something like that.
You've got to go around it.
You've got to go around it.
Yeah.
So you kind of step round it, you do pacing around it, all that sort of stuff.
And then count the same amount of steps back to get back on track.
Yeah, exactly that.
So or have it as a route card as actually part of the deviation, I suppose. Isn't it?
Yeah.
How long is this course assessment thing for you mountain leaders?
So your training is 5 days and your assessment is 5 days.
Okay. And you say you do night camping with that? Or
So
wild
you
camping,
do wild camping. So you walk up into the mountains.
Sounds obvious, but what is it?
So it's basically being able to sustain yourself in the mountains.
Okay.
With lots of alcohol.
Camping at night.
The wild aspect.
So
Camping at night.
Yeah.
camping at night in wild country.
Do you have to do the 4 pillars of survival and all that jazz, or is that a bit much?
It's a bit much of that. So you can carry food. You don't have to go hunting or anything like that. And
Okay.
set
Not drinking your
fires
own
or
piss and
drinking
stuff
your
like
own
that.
piss. You can. It's optional.
It's nice flavours.
I personally didn't.
Keeps it interesting, doesn't it?
But yeah, so for assessment, I think you have 2 nights, unless it's changed. You have 2 nights out in the hills.
Yeah.
I did mine in Snowdonia. So
And who runs it? Like SAS mountain leaders, or just
no, so it'll be mountain
Jim,
leader
who's
Someone like
just
you in 10 years.
trainers. So yeah, someone like me, you just go through your mountain leaders assessments.
Yeah.
And then obviously you become a trainer. But there's different levels of mountain leader as well. So in the UK, you've got mountain leader summer, which is the most common one. That's where you can kind of lead any mountains in the UK in summer conditions. So as long as there's not like heavy snow on the ground, you're sound. Then obviously you get your
a
mountain
little bit
leader
of
winter.
snow at the top of Ben Nevis, isn't there, sometimes?
So because it's only kind of patchy, you're going to be sound. But winter, if you do your mountain leader winter, that's more where you're going to need ice axes, crampons, all that sort of stuff. Then you get your international.
And do people actually check this? Like, would it be a likelihood that there's a mountain police out there tomorrow checking who's leading our course? Because anyone can rock up and walk up Ben Nevis, can't they?
There's not going to be any like mountain police as such, but if you were freelancing for a company, it's part of the insurance. You can't get insurance unless
basically if you're advertising, someone's going to point
it's like
the
if you
finger.
drive without insurance and something happens, you're not covered.
So they check you at the employment stage, and check to make sure you're qualified at that stage, basically.
Yeah, exactly that.
Because again, the PTs are one of those Wild West worlds. Coaching's even worse.
Yeah.
I'm a professional coach. Show me your qualification.
I find nutricianists there.
Yeah,
nutritionist.
nutritionist.
Yeah, I'm familiar with that.
No, I'm more of a dietitian. I'm more of a food advice person. What's that then? Buckle. Yeah, basically.
Don't eat that.
So, give me an understanding of like the range of mountains that you take people up, because also you're doing something that you love. You're taking people up and doing this stuff, but you inherently end up creating a prison of your own creation if you stuck to the UK? Because I imagine someone like yourself, do you ever get sick of doing these? I mean, like, it's fun doing it with different people when you learn different stories. Because I love walking with people and you tend to learn their entire life, don't you?
Yeah,
but there must get to a point for you where you're like, I want to go and, not Everest, but maybe Everest, I don't know. Do you want to...
I'd like to do Everest, but I wouldn't like to go kind of up the touristy routes. For me, when I go somewhere, I like to kind of indulge in the culture and the kind of the environment and get to know the local people as such. So for me, if I was going to do it, I'd hire a guide to kind of take me around the non-touristy routes, the home villages and all that sort of stuff, and actually see what Everest is about and Nepal's all about.
Some of it's very tourist, isn't it?
Yeah.
Like you read Nim's book and you see he was the famous picture all that years ago, and that's what blew up around the world, and blah 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 blah.
It's lost its edge now, hasn't it?
He's lost his.
When you've got hundreds.
Well, he's
of people
lost his edge.
No,
or it's
the mountain. Everest is not. That's why K2 became the new
Can't stay at the
Everest.
top forever.
Yeah.
Now K2 is getting popular.
Someone's just beaten Nims, haven't they, to complete the highest 14 peaks? Yeah.
Have they really?
Yeah.
I've forgotten what her name was.
Is it a Norwegian lady?
Yeah.
Don't know her name.
Well, unless she gets a good Netflix film, she's not gonna be as popular as him. Bless him.
I think the film's been and gone now, hasn't it?
Yeah. But even like stuff like that, his was all done on a really crap phone, wasn't it? And it kind of got. I think he held the footage for like 2 years, and no one was interested in it. And then it got constructed retrospectively. He was just doing it with the hope.
I think his was to bring more awareness to kind of the local people around the mountain.
The Sherpas never.
The Sherpas that never got the credit and all that sort of stuff. So we had a team, didn't he? The Sherpas that specifically did it with it. I forget. Nim's Persia, and then there was Tenzing Norgay, someone else. How do I know Tenzing?
He did the first ascent, didn't he?
Yeah, sorry, I'm getting all wrapped up. What's your favourite UK mountain then?
My fave?
In the UK?
I'm going to be crucified by the Welsh for mispronouncing it, but I pronounce it as Molshebod.
Okay.
So it's one of them mountains where it's not the biggest, it's not particularly the toughest, but if you go onto the ridge line of it, you can kind of have a real good time, kind of stepping between the boulders, jumping around, and enjoying just a fun mountain day out.
Okay.
And then the views from there, you can stand at the top of there and you can see pretty much all of the highest peaks in Snowdonia without turning your head. It's absolutely stunning. It's just one of them mountains where, on a day where if you were on Snowdonia, you'd probably have a couple of 100,000 odd people. On Molshebod, you'd have 10. Something like that. And it's just
still
one
a
of
bit
the
of a
stunning
secret.
locations. Yeah, it is. Not anymore though.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah, but no, it's just one of them stunning mountains where you get a real feel for natural Wales and that. It's lovely.
Yeah, I made a note of that to give that a.
Yeah, it's well worth
Next time you go,
some
be
attention.
busy.
Yeah.
I mean, I say I made a note of it. I made a phonetic sounding word that seemed like the word you said, and I'm absolutely confident that Google's going to say, "Did you mean?"
What are some of the common mistakes people make? So you probably speak to loads of people that say, I went and did so-and-so, or I went and did this, or I'm thinking of doing a thing, or they just want some advice, and then they don't want to go with you, they're just going to go by themselves. What are the common mistakes people make? Because people genuinely do still die up these things.
Is that the first mistake, not going with you?
Oh, no, but yeah.
That's by far the biggest mistake they make.
Well, people said to me, I was like, I'm doing Ash 3 Peaks. They're like, when you get, I said, I'm just paid a guy because he's organised it. Well, he knows it. I can go and enjoy it then. I'm not worried about the fact I'm going to get lost. Oh, but you're a firefighter. You do ISAR. Well, I probably don't know what I'm doing. Still, I've got a clue. I'm going to get lost. That's what I'm going to do.
I think there's a couple of mistakes that people make. The big ones are usually kit.
Okay.
So they'll be massively unprepared. The amount of times I've been up these mountains, you see someone in shorts and a t-shirt with flip-flops and a carrier bag.
I'm in an elevator with you and I'm asking you, dude, I'm heading up tomorrow. What should I take with me?
Definitely take your waterproofs.
Okay.
Waterproof jacket is massive. Trousers is more, I take them, but it's more of a personal preference if you want them.
Yeah. You've got horrible legs, jacket, though, so I would take trousers.
These aren't legs, these are pistons.
Okay.
Oh, that's it. We'll see that tomorrow.
Sorry. Go on.
So yeah, waterproof jacket obviously doubles up as your windproof as well. So if it does get windy at the top, chuck that on. It's
any particular preference, brands or anything?
Just whatever suits you, really.
Yeah.
Make sure it's obviously solidly waterproof. If it's an older jacket as well, re-waterproof it.
Yeah.
I got quite. So you can buy
the rub stuff down the seams or something, eh?
No, you can buy different products. I buy a product called Nick Wax, and it's a case of you chuck it in your washing machine. You put a couple of caps full of this Nick Wax in, you wash it, and then you put different products of Nick Wax in, and it re-waterproofs it. And you tumble dry it, and it's done. That's it.
Wax on, wax
off.
Super
easy to do.
Mr. Miyagi be approving of that.
And for the sake of a couple of quid, you'll waterproof jackets.
What about you fellas? You got any favourite brands for coats? As I'm sure you've had loads in your time now.
I've got loads actually, yeah.
I need a new one.
Yeah, I do
actually. The
actually.
one you've got's fine.
Favourite brand for me?
Yeah.
Got two. You've either got Keela, who they make the jackets for like mountain rescue and all that sort of stuff.
They do all of our ISAR stuff.
So Keela's very, very good, and it's quite cheap as well. for the price you paid, they haven't got a massive following, so you're not paying for the brand.
Yeah.
Or mountain equipment.
Yeah.
Mountain equipment is very good, but it is pricey. But they have a lifetime warranty on it as well. So if there is a genuine fault with the product, doesn't matter how long you've used it for, they will replace it or repair it for you.
I love anything that's got Gore-Tex label on it because it tends to be bulletproof for me.
Most things these days do have Gore-Tex
That's
labels
the thing.
on
It's not actually a product. It's a thing inside the thing.
Yeah.
But I kind of look at that as an indicator to go, okay, if it's got that in it, sometimes I feel a bit safer with it. What about you boys? What are you liking?
I think people use gear as a bit of a crutch.
Yeah?
Yeah.
They spend £1,000 on the
I'm a
thing.
gear guy. I mean, I'm a gear
Instead
guy.
of the knowledge.
Yeah, but you're also very physically fit.
But you think you need so much gear to go and do this stuff. You want the shells. It's basics you have to have, and everyone should have them. But you don't need to go out and buy the top of the line gears to just get out on the
Because
hills.
that also makes it inaccessible then.
Yeah,
People are
exactly.
like, oh, well, I haven't got 400
And
quid.
the hills should be for everyone. Everyone can go up and get on the hills.
It's not that saying that all the gear and no idea. You could have the best kit in the world, still get caught up on the mountain, and haven't got a clue what you're doing. You still get lost and still have the same things happen to you.
I always think that with cycling. You see some guys, there's a guy who lives near me, cycles around with his daughter. He must have £4,000 worth of kit on him. And she's on some Halford's bike. I'm like, you're going for a mile around the block. What the fuck are you doing?
She's probably having more fun as
She's
well.
having more fun. He's like, he's going 20 miles an hour down the road, stopping every 2 seconds for her to catch up. I'm like, dude, what are you doing? Just chill out a little bit.
Did the same with mine. I basically just I'm a massive geek with that sort of stuff. So I went on YouTube and learned about breathability and waterproof ratings.
Yeah.
It's got a trespass jacket. It was in the sale for 70 quid. Yeah. But it was a maxed out tech versus a RAB or whatever. Yeah. You know what I mean? It was I don't know.
You could go outdoors and spend 100 quid and come out with most stuff that you need.
For sure, it's 18,000 waterproof, 10,000
We're always going
breathability.
to
I
have
was done.
friends that have got a waterproof jacket. You don't have to go out and spend loads of stuff. Borrow some kit off your mates. Figure out if it's something you're going to enjoy. Yeah.
Just don't give it back.
I haven't got any mates.
Fine, don't forget.
Long-term borrow.
I see what you're saying. Just long-term borrow.
Waterproof's obvious. Okay, what else are we needing?
So something warm.
Okay.
Definitely something warm. I always take food, not just because I enjoy eating it, but you don't know, something could happen.
Warm food. How fast are you walking this thing?
Yeah.
Put it under my armpits.
We came up and down with a bacon sandwich and it was still warm when he got down. I'm just saying.
Ginsters.
Still holding a coffee, half drunk.
But yeah, your food and your water.
Okay.
Always take water with you. Obviously, that's kind of a no-brainer.
How much do you need? Too nervous.
Depends on what you're doing. So
I think I've got a 3-litre camel pack, but that's too big.
Oh, yeah.
I'm a
But I
sharer.
suck a lot of water though.
I'm a sharer. I'm not a selfish lover. I always use my 3 litre for 2 of us.
Yeah.
So they don't have to carry it. It's a bit rubbish, really.
So I tend to, I'm a bit of a...
Are you a camel pack or you just bottle it?
No, I just bottle it. I've got one of those Evian bottles that you buy from the shop. The
You get
1.5
scared, sir.
litre
You're scared,
ones.
sir. You're scared. You bottle it every time.
Bottle it every time, yeah. So I just take a £1 bottle of water up and just keep
Because
refilling
the beauty of that, if you lose it or you chuck it, not that you're going to go throwing bottles on the mountain, but you're like, I don't care if I drop it, if it gets damaged, I'll throw it away at the end of the day.
Well, it gets thrown away at
I
the
always
end of the
forget
day.
to clean my bloody camel pack.
I think that's the main
And I
thing.
sucked something out of it last night and it was stank.
Right, so quick tip for your camel pack.
Yeah.
If you've got space in your freezer, once you've finished, empty it out and put it in your freezer.
No smell.
So you're not going to have a smell. When you take it out next time, it's still fresh, it's just frozen, just fill it up.
Mine's full of bodies, so
Full of
it would
bodies?
stink. Bodies.
Fair one.
I thought you said
What's his
bodies
name?
as well then.
I don't want to talk about it. So, water, food. Yeah. Any preference on high carb, low carb, cereal bars, lasagna?
So
Lasagna bar.
If you can get a lasagna up there, fair play.
Yeah. Because some people will go out and they'll get all the Lucozade gels and they'll go and buy a whatever.
What are you preparing for? If you're going
People
to your
think
local
that
hill, you don't need...
Yeah.
You just need enough food to last you that day, maybe a couple of hours more. Or an
So what
extra
you'd
night.
normally eat in a day? Just
Plus
take
a
that
bit
away.
extra in case you're up there.
Like me personally, I tend to say to people, if we're doing a solid mountain day, we're on Ben Nevis, and it's going to take around 8 hours.
Yeah.
It's like your normal working day. Take your lunch with you. What you take for lunch, that sort of things.
And a snack.
Yeah.
Did you
just
take
a couple
food
of
for your... We got food tomorrow, haven't we?
Yeah, we've got some food.
So what are we getting? What's the because
So-
that'll be a standard.
Tomorrow, because obviously we're going to be getting
Sheep
up
dip
and down the
fits
mountain as
most
quick as we possibly can. We're not going to be stopping for lunch or anything like that.
So we're not eating on the mountain. No.
So we're not eating on the mountain, no. So we'll eat when we get back to the minibus. So it's just going to be your standard lunch. We've
I'm
got
gonna
high
eat on the
carb
mountain.
stuff. So
I'm
we've
going
got
to need to eat mobile.
You're
Big
gonna
engine
eat,
to
you're not gonna-
fuel there.
Pete's not going to slow us down eating, and he will be eating lasagna or something. It'll
I'll
be
be chewing on your arm halfway down.
Anyway,
as long as it's not the Pistons, we'll be safe.
the Pistons.
So when mountain
Not
walking,
enough meat on them. You'll be fine.
No, go on. So we get down. We're eating when we get down.
you'll burn between 350 and 450 calories per hour whilst mountain walking.
Really?
Yeah. So
What was that, Pete, or normal people other than Pete? Pete's got to be double that.
You've got your sandwich. We do pastas, all that sort of stuff. Loads of flapjacks, crisps. Pretty much what you'd expect to be eating for your lunch anyway. It's just more kind of calorie dense foods.
Okay.
So just a normal meal. So many times you'll see people with those gels on the mountains.
Overthinking it.
Stuff. Massively overthinking it, or massive bags of sweets. It's kind of an excuse to eat sweets, but the trouble is, you eat them, you have your sugar high, you've also got your sugar crash.
Straight after,
Yeah, so eat your sweets on the mountain, but don't. So many people just have a bag full of sweets.
Okay.
It's just unnecessary. Savoury foods are the way forward for me, anyway.
Walking poles. Yes or no?
So that's a massive thing in the industry, isn't it?
Someone's making a lot of money. I've got a pair.
I've got a pair. I love mine.
I think they definitely have their place, but it's like the Marmite of the walking world. You either love them or you hate them.
Yeah. Some people just can't get on with them.
Some
They're
people
just
just
annoying.
can't. I think they're really good if you know you struggle with your knees coming downhill, especially.
That's where I'm at with it.
If you're using them to come downhill, they take a massive amount off your
I feel
knees.
like a spider. I like I've got extra hands to find my way down. Otherwise, I'm like lunging into the next big step.
Yeah.
And that's where I'm like, my knee ain't going to enjoy that.
Yeah,
You
so
know?
they definitely have a place in the walking world. It's
I see a lot of ultramarathon runners using them as well, though.
Yeah.
Like really propel
It's
themselves.
taking a lot off them. So it takes a lot off your legs as well. So obviously the movement you're using your arms.
You got the
and that sort
tricep
of
push,
stuff.
ain't you?
Well, yeah, but the energy that you're kind of expelling and saving from your legs goes somewhere. So that goes to the upper body. If you're doing like a multi-day hike, you're going to fatigue your whole body rather than just your legs sort of thing.
Well, I get to use Smith & Wesson, you see. There's no point bringing these guns with me if I'm not going to put them to work.
Have you left them in your room at the minute?
Let's get him back for the legs.
So
Just
we've
the
got
ears, I can see.
overalls. We've got waterproofs. We've got obviously water, food, poles. One more thing. If I had to take one more thing,
Medical
compass.
kit. Come
map
on.
and
I have a
compass. That's
medical
two,
kit,
but
get one
I
map
thought
and
you can.
compass. You've
Yeah.
got to know how to navigate, haven't you?
Yeah.
So-
But for things like Nevis and stuff like that, people can just follow a track straight up, right? But when you get to the top, it doesn't actually fairly clear how to get to the actual summit. You can go wrong there. There is some drop-offs.
People do go wrong.
Yeah,
definitely do go wrong
There's some
there.
drop-offs at the top. I remember last time we were up there was a thin belt at the edge of the snow, and I was like, let's stay 6 feet away from that in case something falls away from
Oh,
it.
definitely, especially when the snow can overhang on it as well.
Yeah.
You see,
That's how you can hurt yourself.
when you're doing mountains like Ben Nevis, it is a fairly well laid out path.
Yeah.
But you don't know what the weather conditions are going to be like when you get to the top. There could be loads of people at the bottom, and they get to the top, the weather's poor, so they've turned around. So you could find yourself up there on your own in a whiteout.
Did Snowdon last week. It was a cloud.
Yeah.
Literally, all I could see was a girlfriend's hand.
What was the rest of her?
Somewhere.
Poor
In the
girl.
bag.
You got a favourite, Dan? UK?
UK, no. I go in the Alps mainly.
Do you?
Next week I'm off again, actually. Doing the Tour de Mont Blanc, running that.
What sort of stuff are you doing then? Because
So mainly at the minute, well, I used to do quite a bit of alpinism.
okay, what's that for
mainly in
people
the
that don't
Alps.
know? What's that mean?
Bit of glacier walk, a bit of climbing some of the peaks in the Alps. So it's a bit more technical.
Okay.
But next week I'm just running. But
Running?
again, I'll have poles for that. Because it's the Tour de Mont Blanc route. So I've got to do about 50k a day for 4 days.
Oh, that's a shift,
Right.
brother.
That is
Hell of a lot.
immense.
So, but you need all the
I
same
feel
stuff
incredibly
because you're in the
inadequate
mountains,
all
you're
of a
on the
sudden.
peak, So I've still got to have all my shells, still got to have my med kit,
Yep.
still got to have all my other kit, all my water. You take less water because you can use the glacier water, but you have to have a filter then, so you've got to carry that.
Yeah.
So
And all that lasagna. I mean, you're going to have a Bergen. But
What's the Gucci water filter? But what do you use?
I use an MSR. There's a little, I think it's called a trail filter. It's like a hand pump.
Okay.
It's very small. It just goes in your hand, and the other one, a little tube, and goes into the river and pumps into your water bottle, so you can take it with you. A lot of people like these life straws, but I don't like them because you can't store the
store
water.
water.
and
no,
take
you got to
with
drink
you.
it from
One
the
of
straw. Yeah, I've seen
one of the
them.
best ones I've seen, I've got a bottle at home, is a company that is called Water to Go.
Okay.
So it's the bottle and the filter is attached to the top. So you literally fill the
just
water
scoop up the
and
dirty
you,
water and
you
just-
scoop
yeah.
up the
Yeah.
water. I think it
Not-
filters something like 10,000 litres.
Yeah, okay.
So like, it's crazy.
It's slightly off topic, but similar. I saw a great thing. I can't remember what company it was. It was like an entrepreneur had made it. Because you always remember the story of South African or, wherever it is in the third world countries, and they're carrying it on their heads and they're dying of all this water.
Yeah.
And it was like the big drums that you see at camping parks in the UK. You fill it up, and as they walk back with it, and massive big tyres on it, that powers, and they get like 20 litres. And I was like, fucking, that was amazing.
Yeah, that's
and these
good.
things were dirt cheap, and he's helped millions of people with it. And I was like, I mean, you won't want to pull it up and down a mountain. It's not doesn't relate to this, but that technological revolution in the water filtration world really has. I've never seen this hand pump thing.
That's brilliant, absolutely great. I mean, if you have all the space
How
to carry as much
expensive
as
are
you
they?
want, you use these gravity filters. You just fill a whole bag, and it'll filter.
People want to go and Google them. How expensive are they?
Well, on these MSR ones,
Yeah.
about 60, 70
Yeah, they're like
pounds.
50, 60 quid. You can get one around.
You can get different grades depending on where
Do you have to
going.
replace the filter, rebuy more filters?
Yeah,
or?
you'll replace the full unit eventually. Okay. But it depends where you're going. You know, you might need to buy like a £200 one, but it depends what water you're using. If you're in the Alps and using glacier water, the one that I have is enough.
The cheapie's fine. If you're in,
What's wrong with
really
glacier water? Why
dirty-
can't you just drink it?
With glacier water?
Yeah.
It has lots of salts and other things inside it. A lot of sulfur in it.
Okay.
yeah, it's directly from the rain.
You'll
so it
always
depends
see
where the
glacier
water's
water
evaporated from.
because of the colour. It's very different from
Is it?
what we would have as river water, yeah.
But then, like what you might have in, say, the Midlands may well have like chemicals in from like crop spraying and things like that. And
very
obviously,
heavy.
boiling it and
It's very
purifying it's
heavy,
not the
hard
same. So
water.
then, yeah, exactly.
Yeah,
so then you might need the dearer one. Got one question for you then. Can I jump in with a question?
Please do.
Footwear. So I used to be like a
great
heavy
shout.
boot, leather boot kind of guy, and obviously probably on something like this, I bought both because obviously your feet might be a bit banged up by the last one. Might appreciate a bit of support, but I've kind of switched to more kind of an off-road trainer kind of vibe, which is much
Adidas
lighter.
Terrex.
No, actually, a similar
He's got the
type thing.
pumps
Like a
on him.
Merrell.
To be fair,
I
I've
bought the
got
Air
some
Force
Adidas
Ones.
Terrex
Is that not
for
going to
tomorrow.
work?
Yeah, okay, they're a Merrell or something. But anyway, what's your? So I think you've answered the question.
So for me, if I'm doing little bits of mountaineering, I go with Adidas Terrex just because they wear like a trainer.
Yeah.
They're quite comfortable. They're lightweight, all
Yeah.
that sort of stuff. But it is completely down to everyone's feet. You'll ask one person, what's your favourite brand? Like, everyone's got their own favourite brand. It depends on the shape of your feet. There are places you can go to where they will specifically measure your feet for you. They'll tell you the best type of boot. I think it's just about trying them on.
Yeah.
Going to the shop, trying them on. Don't go to a shop. I see this all the time. Like, I've got trainer socks on now. People will go to the shop in their trainer socks and all that sort of stuff. Try a pair of boots on.
So
They're
big
like, they
ankle
fit.
boots on, yeah.
But then when they go walking, they've got walking socks on, which are thicker.
Okay.
Right? So go to the shop with the socks you're intending to wear. But socks are a massive part of it as well. It's not just about the
Do you
boot.
double sock? Do you single
Yeah,
sock?
I was going to follow on with that
So
same question because I'd
don't
always
double
gone
sock.
no double sock because of the
Don't-
friction.
definitely
And
don't
someone else
double
was
sock.
telling me the other way around. I was like, oh, hang on, that's contradicting
No,
what I thought I
definitely
knew.
don't double sock. The friction
double
on it and all that sort of stuff. There's a brand of sock out there called Bridgedale. Now, they are expensive. I think they're about £16 a pair.
Okay.
But obviously, that's going to last you a long time. And they are absolutely solid. They are really, really good socks.
Is that what you wear?
What was that again?
That's where I wear
Bridgedale.
it. Bridgedale, yeah.
They're running out there some Bridgestones. I don't want to get that right.
Try and put your feet in them. I don't know how that's going to go back.
Because again, it must depend on what you're doing. Because one of our friends does loads of the mountain. We had him on the podcast. He lives in Scotland. What's his fucking name? Ricky Lightfoot, and he
Sorry,
won the man
back up.
birth.
Is that his actual name?
Ricky
or is that
Lightfoot.
just because of the sport he's taken
Ricky
up?
Lightfoot, yeah.
And
He's won loads of ultramarathons all over the world. He won this man versus horse stuff, and he's
So like
ran
a
up and
fighter,
down mountains.
fighter, or is it his actual-
Awesome guy. But he's sponsored by Solomon.
Okay.
Oh, wow.
And I was
Lucky guy.
like, they don't look like a mountain shoe to me. But he's obviously, he's sponsored by him. But he'd been using them for years before.
Yeah.
I've always loved that. But I tend to walk in fields with high grass. So I love hike stuff because it just tends to keep me waterproofed.
And my boots, my heavy boots are hikes as well.
I
and I
love hikes
love
boots.
mine. But obviously I'm aware that they're heavier.
Yeah.
But
So-
I've got some Hike Scout ones, and they're really thick leather, and I think like they're too hard. Whereas these are quite soft and flexible. They
a
feel
desert boot
more
kind
like
of vibe.
yeah.
I think it depends on what you're doing on the mountain. So, like when we did the mountain leader assessment course, you have to have a graded boot called B2 boots for your assessment and all that sort of stuff. And that's because
What is that?
so it's a boot without a flexible sole, effectively.
So we're talking the harder BT
So we're
boots.
talking like
So the
proper
Scout
hard
ones are not a
boots,
flexible sole, whereas these
Yeah.
Is it to do with
bend
taking crampons?
So you can put obviously crampons on them, but it's mainly for if you're in the mountains and you're in an emergency situation, you have to use the emergency use of a rope. You need to be able to make sure, one, you've got good grip, you've got good stance, and if you're kicking a rock, to make sure it's completely solid. You obviously don't want to be kicking them with flexible shoes on or trainers because you're going to hurt yourself.
But they must be less forgiving to do long distances then.
Was the weight, isn't it, as well?
can
And then
get some
pistons.
nice
Weight.
ones.
So
And then
I've got
pistons.
large feet. I've got like 11 and a half feet. So they weigh about 1 kilogram plus each.
Yeah,
So when you're
12 and they're
walking
a
up a
kilogram,
mountain, if
yeah.
we're doing the 3 peaks and I was wearing them, there's no flexibility in the sole, so my feet are going to be on fire.
Yeah.
And it's just not going to be a nice experience for me.
That's frustrating because
Yeah.
you're almost getting to the point where you're walking around in like ski boots.
Yeah.
That's what mine felt like when I first got them because they're 13 and they came in, they're brand new, and I felt like I didn't feel like the ankle mobility wasn't there. And I get, they're brand new, blah 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 blah. But I was like, fuck that. So I didn't bring them with me. I brought these older hikes like GTX or whatever because they're just nice and soft and they just felt more.
And they're dissimilar really to the sort of like cross trainer that I'll be wearing.
Definitely. But I think, as long as you're not walking up in flip-flops and a carrier bag and that sort of stuff.
I've seen that before.
Yeah.
So I literally, no joke, on the glaciers went up just up from Chamonix, right into the mountains on one of the glaciers. There was about 3 German tourists, shorts, flip-flops, Hawaiian shirts.
Wow.
They got massive fines when
You
they got
just
down
aren't
off the
hardcore
police.
enough to hang with them.
That's a fine.
That's the thing.
Yeah, they've started fining people now if you walk down glaciers without equipment.
Because
in
of
the Alps. Because of how many times they've had to rescue.
You have to do an
an
individual rescue might cost X thousands.
Yeah.
So we're trying to dissipate that and spread it over.
Yeah,
Every time we find you, it's going to be X hundreds. Yeah. That makes sense.
And people come up, they visit the huts or they go up to just see the view so they can take the cable car up. I remember the guide who I was up with last time. 2 people came up with their child. A family came up to see it, not watching, taking pictures of you. Kid ran out onto the glacier straight into crevasse.
No.
Posed, didn't have a clue, didn't see it.
Wow.
If my mate wasn't there from a distance, who saw where he fell, they never would have found the kid.
Wouldn't even know where it was.
But that's it. Just people just without any idea, just running out into very dangerous situations because they think, oh, it looks nice and it does. It looks pretty. It looks gorgeous up in the mountains.
Yeah.
But if you're unsure what's going to happen, and you're not prepared.
This
for
is where I
it's
think
a dangerous environment.
The gram has helped and also hindered as well. It's like it's made it more accessible. People want to go and do it. They see the great 30-second clip that you post, but they don't look at the and I'm the same. And as much as I do other things, I still respect it and come to someone like you and go, I know I'm not an expert. No matter what I look and what I wear and how I pretend to talk, I could still very much hurt myself. But people do just go, fuck it, I saw that on Instagram. Yeah, come on kids, let's go.
Pretty much one of that. Like one of my friends follows an Instagram and they did some wild camping with a partner.
Yeah.
And I had loads of people saying to me, where's this? And I could name it, no problem. And I knew the guy who took them up. But not once in any of their Instagram posts did they say, mountain leader took me up, set the tents up for us. So they just says, look, we're on a couple's retreat, photos of us with the tent, etc.
Yeah.
So it makes everyone think that's super accessible. I'll go do the same thing. And then they get into bother. They don't check the weather or something like that, or they've not got an adequate tent, and they just get into real trouble because they've not been given the full information. So Instagram's a massive issue for these sort of things.
Well, I want to be super respectful of time. We're going to have some food in a minute. But I'm thinking, let's try and catch up, maybe in between each one, or maybe we'll just go at the end and see how it's all gone. But if we hit any particular hurdles, when Ross sacks it in and we're carrying him down the second one, we'll reflect. It'll be me. It'll be me. Let's be honest. It'll be me. My knee will scream at me at some point. I'll have a little cry, and then you'll slap me around and we'll crack on.
Can it be somebody lighter?
Yes, maybe preferred. Let's not have the massive guy struggle.
So I know a quick way to get him down.
Just drop a little bit of
It rolls
food
quite
and
well, to be honest.
squirrel. So it's 12:30 on Sunday morning.
Yeah.
You've just ran miles and miles because we went in the wrong fucking direction. So this is one of those constant things where you try and please everybody, you try and look after everybody, and you made the wrong assumption, not the wrong assumption, that you had some competent individuals that looked as though they knew their way back to the car park.
Ross told me he knew what he was doing.
Well, he seemed awfully competent. No, we all did. It was a collective mistake. We'd come off. Yeah, no, I was. We'd come off Scarfell. It's bloody cold at the top, mate.
Yeah, it was.
So where are we at the minute? We're travelling right through the middle of the night to our final destination.
So yeah, still in the Lake District. We're heading towards Penny Pass now, Snowdonia. So final mountain.
So how have the first 2 gone on your scale of many expeditions? How have we got on so far? The good, the bad, and the ugly. Nobody got hurt. That's a good bit.
Well, yeah, no one's got hurt.
There was a couple of little stumbles. Dan had a slip on the last one. Bless him. He actually had a little slip. Only a little slip. Lost his footing.
Yeah,
he
in
did
terms
well.
of kind of groups, it's very rare that we get a group that is, pretty much bang on time, every single member. There's always kind of one person or 2 people that, either fall behind on that sort of pace that's needed or pick up some sort of injury.
Yeah.
So for everyone 100% to still be going is very good.
How much do you need to keep in reserve, like mentally for you? For examples like that, because you got back to the minibus, assuming we would already be there,
Yep.
and we had just basically chatting away, walked straight past the gate we're supposed to go, and then end up in some other goddamn car park.
Yeah.
And you had to drop all your kit. And so, because you said you had kind of two things in your head. We were either at this one location, which was going to involve you running for X number of miles and hoping we were there. And if we weren't there, what was going through your head? Because then you just sort of shifted into another gear.
So I'd kind of followed your head torches, or what I thought were your head torches, down for a bit, and then so
people that might be familiar with the area, where do you think we might have gone? If anyone can maybe pick it up in your head as to what we're on about.
So when you come down to kind of the Wasdale Head car park, you come through the first gate, and you'll see a sign that says Wasdale Head to the right, and then National Trust car park to the left.
I didn't see a single fucking sign, I'll be honest.
So rather than going to the left, you guys just took the right path. They've just built, in fairness, they've just built.
Did anybody else actually see a sign?
No, I didn't see a sign.
I didn't see a single sign.
There is definitely a sign.
It was obviously pitch black. I mean, what was it, like 11:30 at the time? So it was in the dead of night, isn't it? And like, we're not conditioned to it like you are. We're all withered. But anyway, so we've gone the wrong way.
But yeah, so going the wrong way on that section, that's not too bad, because it's just a case of you can either go back up that path or you walk along the road. There's nowhere else for you really to go.
Okay, I'm sure we'd have found somewhere. We nearly unlocked this gate, didn't we? And went into a field full of sheep.
Yeah.
And we were like, we definitely didn't walk past any sheep.
Yeah, but the other option that I thought the other potential route you could have gone is down towards Seathwaite, which to drive round to that you're looking at about 2.5 hours.
No.
So to
Right off of there.
To get
Jesus.
you, I would have had to go all the way back up the mountain to come all the way back down the other side to come and find you. Like, so that would have been
a mess.
I wouldn't have been smiling after that one.
But you kind of have to have that, I suppose, within yourself. Do you ever get? Because you said before you tried a different diet approach.
Yeah.
But do you consciously know that you do have it in reserve if you need it? You're never really getting in your chin strap. Because we did say earlier, this must be really easy for you. And you said, no, it doesn't necessarily get any easier.
Yeah, it never particularly gets easier. I think you just learn to tolerate it more. You do get a little bit faster and that sort of stuff, but you kind of tweak little things you do. So like I said to you on the mountain, I tried to cut a few carbs out and see if I could do it purely on protein-based diet, and I got to Scarford Pike and I was just absolutely hanging out. So ate a few carbs on that, absolutely fine. So eating carbs now, I know I've got sugars in my bag, I know I've got spare food in my bag. So if I was ever struggling and needed to fill up a little bit, I've got that in reserve. That's not a problem.
So we're heading to final one now. Snowdon. Little bit, it's longer than Scarfell, but less, because that really was a power charge quad drive incline from the get-go, wasn't it, really?
So on this one, we're going to start at Penny Pass. We're going to take the pig track up, which it's more of a gentle incline. That's in kind of mountain leader terms. A gentle incline isn't really gentle.
What would it be in comparison to what we just did?
So it's definitely not steep, but as we get nearer to the end, there is definitely sections that are equally as steep as that.
Okay.
So with Scarfell or Scarfell Pike, it's more stepped stones, whereas on where we're about to go, it's more shale and loose rock.
Oh, okay.
So what we'll do is, depending on the sort of time that we're working with, we can come down the miner's path, which that's a steep section, but it leads you down to the lakes, and that's then fairly flat. It's kind of undulating ground, and it means that
you can just punch it along a flat.
You can really put your foot down, and if we're running low on time, you can get a jog on, that sort of thing. So
are we still on track? You reckon we're going to close it in before the 24th?
Yeah.
You're optimistic?
Yeah, I think we'll do it.
Dan, success. Nobody died. That's got to be the first win.
It's always a bonus.
And we genuinely finished within the time. Which, I don't know, people might be listening and thinking, "Oh, bullshit," but I didn't realise until we started having our chats. Like you were saying before, you gave one of your coaches or co-runners, gentleman that helps you run the thing, his medal the other week, because it's the first time he's ever finished it. The first time he's ever finished it?
Yeah.
Because every now and again he has to take somebody back.
Yeah, so most of the events, it's very rare to kind of have a 100% finish rate on the National 3Ps.
Yeah.
Because, anything can happen. People can pick up an injury, people just they're just not fit enough, they just have enough, and that sort of stuff. So, to have 100% completion.
100% finish, but then B, to have people, because you were saying like some companies a bit cheeky, they go, oh, it's mountain time.
Yeah.
And they go, sub 24 mountain time. Jesus, that's
Yeah.
8 hours per mountain.
I can't count.
That's just ridiculous. That's cheeky as hell,
so
isn't
it's
it?
like some
Well,
companies-
they may argue the traffic factor was out of control, was blah,
Now,
blah, blah.
If we got stuck in a massive crash, there's nothing we can do about that.
Yeah,
we
yeah.
can't predict that. We can't
Yeah.
look it up on the map. And that. It's one of them things that happens. So obviously, if you got
Really
stuck in a
quick
massive
numbers.
crash, you wouldn't have failed your challenge. Like I said to one of them earlier, if you did every single mountain 1 hour each one. If you did each mountain 1 hour per one, but then the journey, the traffic took 24 hours in total, would you have failed the challenge? You did 3 hour mountains.
Yeah, it might have had like a
So it's kind of that.
low-key gentleman's agreement that we'd passed it.
The
Yeah,
vehicle
exactly.
that we're in was limited as well.
Yeah, so that was 62.
Because I
and-
think
In both
there was
space
another
and
group,
speed.
wasn't there? I mean, there was loads of groups, but I saw the same group
Yeah.
on all three mountains.
Oh, yeah, you see the same
But we
people.
climbed faster than them, and they seemed to have started the next mountain sooner. So I reckon they were just in a faster vehicle,
so
or something was going on like that.
So whilst we climbed faster than them, they left the car park obviously before us because we had people in the group that were a little bit slower and all that sort of stuff. So
Yeah.
they started faster. But what a lot of groups like that do is they'll have cut-off points at certain locations. So if you're not matching their, so
I
when
saw
we
him
paced
shouting at
We
some
saw
people
him shouting,
and saying,
yes.
"No, the bus leaves at 1," and I was like, "Mate, what a dickhead!"
And if he's
Chill out
listening
a
to
little
this
bit.
podcast, he knows who he is.
He's belly. What a belly.
It's an absolute helmet.
Everyone
let's just
was
name him
proper
now.
staring at him, like following him, like fucking push him off the
Doesn't
mountain.
motivate.
I would have said,
Yeah.
I would have said something.
It was a bit of a
that
dick.
bad.
Yeah,
Yeah,
but that's what they would do. So, like we had members in the group and they were so close to the summit, but if they were slightly outside of what I had planned, but I'm not going to turn to someone that's 5 minutes away from the summit and be like, "That's it, you're out now." Give up that time. Because as you found, some people are fast at going uphill, and some people are, those people could be slow at coming down. And
That's
vice
me.
versa,
I
the
was
people that are slow
slower.
going up,
I mean, the
fast at
first
coming
one I
down.
was fairly fast both ways, but like on the second and the third, I knew Dan and your missus were going to come whipping past me because you're both light, agile, super fit. But again, horses
Basically,
for courses.
Springer Spaniels.
Yeah, super Springer Spaniels, both of them.
I like taking it slow coming down as well, though. Especially
Yeah,
when
you
it's
get
wet.
to enjoy a bit.
I don't
of
want to
the-
be slipping
Which was
and
your favourite
sliding.
mountain?
Ooh, that's good. I still like Snowdon. Just
Snowdon
the
was
scenery.
beautiful.
I
It was
don't
the
know,
Lord of the
so
Rings,
the
wasn't it?
long,
Coming
yes,
down there.
the long passageways as you're walking up is beautiful.
Don't get me wrong, when there's no cloud on Ben Nevis, that is some serious scenery around there.
Yeah.
So that was Lord of the Ringsy as well, actually, for me. So I'm torn between the two, but I do have a bit of a fondness for Snowdon.
Snowdon for me is like when you crowned some ridges, it would you wanted some theme tune because it just opened up in front of you, didn't you?
Something
your
you
own
follow.
There was
soundtrack.
lots of little lakes and stuff like this, and it was beautiful. But I found there was, considering Scarfell was the highest, I found myself
Scarfell's the
doing.
lowest.
Scarfell's the lowest.
Oh right, that's why. I found myself, but no, the steepest. Sorry,
The steepest. Oh, yeah,
Scarfell's
yeah,
the steepest.
Steepest
I
one,
found
yeah.
myself doing more precarious climbing on Snowdon than in either of the two. I felt.
Yeah, that's
Did
what
no one
I'm
else
saying.
feel that way? There was some bits you were definitely climbing.
Yes, yeah, I know what you mean.
That's what I'm
man.
saying on Scarfell,
Yeah.
because it's laid out as steps.
Yeah.
It's just that steep one after another step. Whereas
Just a
Snowdon, it's steep.
machine.
It's probably not as steep, but it's a lot of share, a lot of loose rock and all that sort of stuff. So and there are elements that we were using hands and.
It feels less relentless, though, if I'm
Yeah,
honest.
yeah.
It does, because it keeps changing. At that point where you're breathing buttermilk and thinking, oh no, really, I'm going to feign an injury. Then it changes up. You get a bit of new scenery, a bit of new kind of rock to climb up. It's quite cool.
I had a lot of chafage by the third one. The fat thighs were rubbing a little bit. I was
Let's define facts, shall we?
the thunder thighs weren't enjoying it. Talk to us about the finish, because when you see some of these shows, and this isn't a show, but it's like you see a show and it's like, oh, Team B has got 10 minutes to finish, and you're like, oh bollocks, they've got 3 hours, they're never going to make it. Literally, you said to us when you left us because you were waiting for other members of the group. It was me and Ross, and you were like, right, head down. Is it Pig?
Towards the miners.
Miners. Yeah.
Miners.
So head down the steep
Pig-
section. So
Pig
the pigs
path
where we
going
came
up.
up.
Path. Why do they
Pig
call
path.
it Pig? Is it Pig Path?
PYG, Pig Path, yeah.
Pig Path.
They're
Why
not
do they
sure,
call
are
it
they?
Pig?
I don't know, to be
No, that's
honest.
it. I was
Not
like, I can't see them taking cattle
It's
up here.
going to be, well, it's
I
going to
struggle
be
with that shit.
the Welsh name for something, I'd assume.
Why
Yeah.
can't they just learn to spell? Illiterate. Anyway, so we were.
That's definitely getting
they
You
have
left us.
Sorry for any Welsh listeners.
You left us there and said, right, fellas, you got to head here. You're going to do really well because. Oh, let's go back there for a second. Dan, talk to us about the clusterfuck that we had on the second on Scarfell. Because you just showed us on the old route mapping. We just got a little bit carried away with, we've done so well there, and we came back down. How, was it 2 or 3 miles out away?
Oh, easily. Yeah, easily.
Yeah, 3.
We added on quite a bit of distance.
3 miles it. So.
Obviously, it wasn't enough for us, you see. So we needed to add the extra distance. It's easily done, though, at night.
Just so extra, Dan.
So we thought you said it's impossible for us to make that same mistake, but then we peeled off there, and you were like, "You're gonna have to put a shift in." Yeah. But you were saying, Ross, it was like it took us an hour and 20 to get up.
It was an hour and 35, I think you said. It was sort of on schedule for like an hour and 20, hour and 30, and then.
So you were like, "Oh, we'll be loads faster on the way down."
Because when you said, "Oh, you got an hour and 15." You're going to get a shift on. And I was like, banter. Because, of course, we've got up there in almost an hour and 20. Now we're coming down, not from the top, but from that point where the miners takes off.
Longer.
But that's what we realised later on was like, hang on a minute, might have dropped the ball here. Because we've gone down thinking, well, look, we've not really got any worries of not crossing the line in time.
Yeah. That's why we were like, enjoy the scenery.
Setting a good pace. We're sort of out in front. We were like, well, we'll just go fast, but not run. And let's see how we go. And then about, halfway along that, we're like, it's quite long here. We're like, this is longer. And
then Dan, you and your missus popped up behind us, and I said to you, I was like, mate, if you've got it in the tank, I think you should maybe run, because you kick yourself if
I wanted the 24 no matter what.
I wanted the 24, but I was conscious of my knee, and I was like, I think me and Ross are about where we need to be. Just to be safe, you should go.
We wanted to be together as well, didn't we? Regardless of whether you could have ran or I could have ran. Why not? I could have ran, you could have ran.
And I'm not like that.
No, mate. If I was you and wasn't carrying injuries, I was like, go for it. So you and your missus took off, and then we kind of took off as well. We broke into a bit of a run as well, didn't we? Yeah. And then we're glancing.
And gravity loves a heavy person, so we caught up.
Yeah.
Because there's a lot of false finishes, sort of, isn't
there? That's what I said to you. There's a lot of you go around the corner and you're like, that's the last one. It's like,
that's a few miles. You said, I'm sure I overheard you say that's a mile, that bit. It's not a mile.
No, that's not a mile.
I thought you said that. I was like, that's just wildly inaccurate.
It's definitely not a mile.
It's got to be
making you be positive.
miles, that.
Yeah. So, no, sorry, I said it's an additional 1 mile compared to the... So it's just under a mile over than what the pig track is. But the difference is, the reason we obviously use that one to come down is because when you get off the steep section, it's down to your individual effort then on how much you want to run.
And you can run.
Whereas the pig, because everyone's coming up that, we've seen there's choke points.
Yes.
And if you're having to wait and it's slippy, which it is, you're having to move over and wait, you lose a lot of time.
I did prefer that as a finish, because you could punch it when you wanted to.
So
and it was when it got to that 20-minute mark, we was looking, it was like, we definitely just need to fucking go for this, because 20 minutes is basically gone like that now. If we turn this next corner and it's longer than we think it is, that's it.
But that's it. But
you're not going to make that 20 minutes.
If you had that same situation on the pig track, it's not like you can do much about it. It's like I've got to
and you start getting dangerous then.
It's getting spicy, getting sketchy.
But what did we have to spare? So your missus got over the line first, bless her. She seemed to just take off. And then we were literally... So we set off 8:43, doesn't it, out of the gate for Ben Nevis yesterday morning. And it was 8:33. And honestly, I felt quite emotional about it. I'll be pretty honest with you, because I was like,
it made it more exciting.
I can't believe we were that bloody close. Because then you start reflecting on all the 10 minutes, don't you? You're like in the toilet, getting a snack, pissing about doing this. And you're like, fucking hell, that could have easily have just...
Because I didn't feel like we'd be time pressured at all.
When we went to the service station, we'd just go in, we'd go to the toilet, someone would grab a quick coffee, we'd be back in the minibus. You think, right, that was a quick one. Realistically, that was between 15 and 20 minutes long each time. When we fill up with fuel and all that stuff, when everyone nips to the toilet, that's another 15, 20 minutes. And then the motorways we were coming along had 50 restrictions on it, and all the roadworks.
And you've got to keep that tempo, haven't you? Because you know these margins add up.
Makes up for it on the little back roads.
That's what I say on Ben Nevis. You just got to literally go hell for leather on Ben Nevis, get your time as much as you can, and then you play around with the little minutes here and there.
Get the wheels moving once you get down on the bottom. Yeah, no, that makes sense.
That's why we try to cut the faff on it.
Any closing points over the weekend from yourself, Dan? Thoughts, tips, tricks, best bits, if anyone's considering doing this themselves?
I thought what was great about the way you did it, Dan, was I liked on the last, because if you come down Snowdon, if someone's not interested in the 24, because it's last mountain, they can go and take it at their own pace.
Yeah.
And then, because you gave us that route at the end, if we want to gun it and run, that's great.
Yeah. You put the control.
We wanted the 24, and that was it. That was part of my goal to come and do it in the 24. But not everyone's like that, and not everyone needs to be like that.
It would have soured it for me. I would have, in my mind, whether I ever did it again, but I would have thought, fucking hell, I'll come do this again now. Because I need to do it. That's the whole point. It's called that on the goddamn thing. It's what it says on the tin. I'm like, I'm doing it in 24.
That's why it's so great about the last one. If then you want to chill and you're like, oh, time's up anyway, take your time and relax then. Obviously you can't do it on the other ones, but on the last one, I think that makes it quite nice.
It opens up that freedom, doesn't it? Independence.
And when you're running over the line with 10 minutes to go.
Mate, that was just a serious buzz. And
such a high, wasn't it? That was such a high.
It was
yeah.
such a morale was corny as hell, but I was
morale was peaked. It was so cool. It was a proper brotherhood moment, wasn't it? It was quite cool.
Better.
It was quite cool.
What about yourself, brother?
Well, for me, I'd say obviously these things aren't free to do in the proper way. And I think I was saying this to you before, but obviously I myself find myself that guy in the group who can kind of read a map and it's kind of like, let's go do this. And you got your friends and suddenly got that pressure on you to kind of like be the person in charge and take people up. I don't know what I'm doing. Can map read to a degree. But to go along, it'd be easy to say, I don't need a guide. I'm not going to, what do I need Dan for? I got this, come on, I've done this sort of thing before. But do something like this with, you leading the way, for example. It's just something not to think about. More relaxing. I wouldn't want to do this in charge of other people. Do you know what I mean? That's someone like you.
I love watching all the hats that you wore over the course of the weekend and how many things you're thinking about all the time. And then you think you've solved 20 problems and then you're getting everybody's food out and you're liaising with the person and you're ahead of it.
Last night's example, where we obviously went off the beaten path, went to a different beaten path, added in 3 miles on. You ran. From the minute you couldn't leave the bus, you couldn't come in the bus because
these 3 idiots might be costing everybody their 24 hours.
But you're thinking, I know what they've done, I know where they are. And you jogged to come find us. That was probably
no one else is going to fix it. You've got to fix it.
15-minute jog after you've done 2 mountains to come find us. No, I mean that's you don't get that otherwise. It would have been thinking.
And you do think how many other course leads? If it was someone whatever in their 60s who's a bit bored of doing this now, would just be like, right. Well, they've ruined it for everyone. Now we need to go and find these 3. And then sack the weekend off.
I suppose I could have got the minibus to kind of drive around, pick you all up. Because my worry was like, if we don't get to you quick, you might then start walking back up the mountain.
You're not going to know.
And then it's more difficult to actually sort that out. But then I was also conscious that the other group are coming down, and if they start walking around not seeing the minibus, they're going to start panicking, things are going to happen. So it's just leave the minibus there, and that's what we said. Sometimes you come across a problem, it might negatively affect you a little bit more, but it's something you just got to deal with. It's part of the role, isn't it?
Well, mate, I really, really enjoyed it. I thought it was going to be a combination between like outdoor camping and some of the international search and rescue stuff we do, but the levels and layers of knowledge that we've spoken about through your time, the stuff you've gone into about the Mountain Leaders course, I think not only like warns people of the dangers of it, and that's not to scare anybody from doing it, but also like hopefully gives them a bit of hope that there's people out there, they're not just winging it, it's not just a Cowboys game, there are people who are really thinking about this, they're not just slapping a badge on a t-shirt and going, I'll take anybody up there, and then people end up having a shit experience and it probably ruins the whole sector for themselves. For anybody that wants to find out a little bit more about Elite Adventures, we'll put some links in the notes for it, but where's the best place for them to go?
So if you go onto the website, eliteadventures.co.uk, all the information's on there. We've got social media, so we use Facebook, Instagram, LinkedIn, if anyone's on that, great to connect. Just Elite Adventures online and you'll find us.
Beautiful. Thank you, Dan. I really appreciate it.
I appreciate it.
Thanks, Dan.
Cheers, guys.
There we go.
Good wrap up, by the way. Well done, everybody.
Well, there you have it, folks. That was myself, Dan, another Dan, good friend Dan, and Ross as well, doing our time on the National 3 Peaks Challenge. This was, of course, with Elite Adventures. Now, you can find Elite Adventures at, funnily enough, eliteadventures.co.uk. They're on all the social media platforms as well. The links are in the notes below. As we said, it's obviously not free. You've got to pay to play. If you go over to Elite Adventures, you can do the same challenge we did. So the National 3 Peaks Challenge, 24 hours, 95 quid. Sign yourself up for 95 quid. All of the details are in there. All the payment options. You can do it for charity sponsorship. You can do a mixed fundraising option. Obviously, we raise a lot of money for Pink Firefighters, breast cancer awareness, firefighters charity, but you can do anything that tickles your pick or anything that suits your choosing, your own personal charities, or just pay to play yourself. It's a hell of an adventure to have. It was a hell of a lot of fun. But if you are still listening and you want to take anything away from it, really, my hope is that you just try and find your own mountain. Climbing can be really hard, but for me and for most of us, it's one of the most rewarding things we've ever done. It takes us to places of absolutely incredible beauty, and it challenges us to find untapped reserves of strength and resourcefulness, similar to what we had to draw on those last few 20, 30, 40 minutes coming down that final mountain. it's also just plain old fun. You don't have to put in massive amounts of money. These things are accessible to everybody, and they are really incredibly personally fulfilling. You get to know someone really well out on a climb. Now, for some people like Dan and Elite Adventures, it may become part of their life's work, but for others, it's a deliberate detour on the way to bigger things. So maybe you have had a really tough challenge these last few years. Maybe COVID was really rough as hell for you, as it was for many people. Maybe you are climbing a metaphorical mountain now. Maybe you've got something to celebrate, or maybe you've got something coming up and you want to prepare yourself for it mentally. Climbing a mountain brings out the passion that comes naturally to all of us. I would strongly encourage you to go and check out Elite Ventures or a similar one. There's lots of other companies out there. This allows them to bring their expertise, Dan's drive, his skills, his professionalism to the table. We bring our goals and reasons and our big why. You may want to climb for relaxation, for excitement, for the love of the achievement, or for feeling athletic mastery, or just to get a hell of a good view. Your reasons for climbing are your own. And I really hope you push yourself, if you haven't already done so, to continue to pursue that. And maybe you'll do so with someone like Elite Adventures. Thanks for listening today, folks, and I will see you on the next one. The Firefighters Podcast is put together to develop, inspire, and hopefully even motivate those individuals who have chosen to serve our communities and be part of the first responder family. It's brought to you by myself, operational firefighter Pete Wakefield. If you have enjoyed today's episode and you want to see the podcast continue, please head over to our Patreon page where you can support the ongoing efforts of the podcast. Please hit that follow, subscribe, or rate button on whatever platform you're listening to. Please support your emergency services responders, and thank you for listening.